Turn on my microphone. Thank you very much. I need that. The hour of 6 p.m. having arrived, I call to order this regular meeting of the Municipal Services, Facilities, and Infrastructure Committee. Meetings being broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and channel 1302. Video is also being streamed on the city website and is posted on the website by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. Copies of the agenda are posted in the wall pocket just as you enter the meeting room. The public and other city councilors will be recognized to ask questions and make comments on the agenda under discussion. After being recognized, all remarks are to be made through the chair. I will not recognize an individual a second time until everyone has had a chance to speak. I remind all city councilors present that they should not indicate how they intend to vote. They may make comments and ask questions, however. Anyone who wishes to address the committee is asked to go to one of the microphones in the room, identify yourself by name and address prior to speaking. Written comments from the public will be accepted at the clerk's office until Tuesday, 1 p.m. Our minute taker is participating remotely this evening. Committee members, make sure you turn on your microphone and remind me. If the minute taker is unable to hear, there is a light, I'm told, that will remind us to turn our microphones on. Call to order this regular meeting, and I note that we are all present and we have a quorum, therefore. So therefore, first item on the agenda, we have a petition from East Side residents, and I believe Vicki Morton is the representative.
Good evening. Vicki Morton, 275 Water Street. The City of Boston's webpage states that by the end of 2024, they intend to install traffic calming raised crosswalks and/or speed bumps on every street within several neighborhoods. Now, I understand why they'd want to do that, since my whole letter is about speeding and requesting tabletop and speed bumps. However, I'm not suggesting that we do that for every street on East Side Keene. Rather, address the significantly used streets, the faster ones, the speedier ones. Keene's own website for the Roadway Safety Action Plan states that over the last 5 years, there have been 3,800 auto crashes within the city's limits. Of these crashes, 3 involved fatality and another 34 resulted in serious injury. The goal of the Roadway Safety Action Plan is to reduce roadway accidents to 0. While the plan identifies corrective steps to reduce accidents, they continue on roadway directions. They concentrate on roadway directions, one-ways, reduce traffic lanes, increase pedestrian and/or bike infrastructure, and general public education. Nowhere did I read anything about traffic calming techniques like tabletops or speed bumps. So on one hand, we have Boston installing tabletops everywhere, and on the other hand, we had the federal government not even mentioning them as a possibility. From a previous conversation, I heard that we, the city, if they granted our request for tabletop, then they would have to grant all other requests for tabletops across the city. Sorry. What I have never heard is why the city is adamantly against these methods of slowing traffic speed. Is it cost? Is it inconvenience? What is it? The concerns for speeding is not limited to Water Street, although obviously I live on Water Street. I'm responding because of the traffic speed on Water Street. Residents have concerns about Beaver Street, Roxbury Street, Church Street, especially at the intersection with 93rd, and the cross streets including Carpenter Valley and even Eastern Ave, although it has just received the 25-mile-an-hour posting. South Lincoln Street presents another issue. There are 2 no parking signs in front of the school on South Lincoln Street, and yet every school day there are parents parked directly in front of these 2 no parking signs waiting to pick up their children. These parked cars inhibit any traffic flowing north if there's a vehicle traveling south on the street. The street is definitely not wide enough for 3 cars. So my questions. Why can't these parents stage on Wilbur Street? If they're allowed to impact traffic daily, why not remove the no parking signs? If the no parking is indeed intended, how is it that these vehicles are not ticketed or told to move along? If it's okay to park there, then please, City of Keene, do a couple of things. state that there's an exemption for this period of time at this particular place on this street, or widen the street to accommodate these cars and not impact the traffic flow. I think it's absolutely grand that we have updated parks, abundant zippy roundabouts, and razzmatazz downtown design, but at the end of the day, all we are asking for is basic safety and enforcement of the ordinance that are already on the book. Just basic safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address? I mean, neighbors and such.
Good evening. I'm Connie Joyce. I live at 81 Grant Street, which crosses over, it's a dead-end section of Grant Street and crosses over Beaver. So every day, school days, the kids are out waiting on the corner. And it's real easy to see who the violators are of the speed limit because they have big logos on their trucks. So you actually can call them out by name. Nobody slows down. There's no police presence. There's no, video camera. There's nothing to really help us with the safety issues of the speeding limits in Keene. So I really reach out to you to say sooner or later there will be a tragedy, and before that happens, I think you should address this issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie. Other residents, thank you.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Sizo, Water Street in Keene, or not Water Street, Fairfield Court off Water Street. And the traffic is too fast some places in town. And I'm wondering, is there, can individuals request to have those tracking things come up? They tell you how fast you're going. It monitors, the traffic. I mean, maybe, I don't know, is there something to put in place for that we could address or go to, make a specific request, on certain streets? I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that.
The answer is yes. It would be called directed enforcement.
Okay.
So through the city manager, the police chief could be requested to put a little extra focus on Water Street. And I think Roxbury Street is in the same. They just haven't come forth. City manager?
And I would add to that, so those are directed patrols, and we have a lot of them. And so for a period of time, someone on duty, if they are free, they will swing by that area and look, patrol, whatever the directed patrol is. But I think what you're asking about is those speed trailers. And we do have speed trailers, and they are with Public Works. And yes, a citizen can request that a speed trailer be put out on a street for a period of time, and we can process that request through the Public Works Department.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Then
But-
I appreciate it.
But that does not have a camera that identifies the speeding offender.
Well, true.
I
Did-
mean, I don't want you to think it's,
No, I didn't
solution.
think so. And I can ask them, does it collect some data?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure, so there could be some information about that. So, yeah, I'm in favor of some of those, something that slows the traffic,
you.
anything. So, thank you.
Good. And being that that is part of my morning commute and evening commute, I absolutely agree with you. It's too fast. And the other nightmare is South Lincoln Street. That intersection is like, it's frightening. It almost needs a stop sign on Water and Roxbury Street to stop them from going, or at least it's just very dangerous. So slowing it down, I think, is critical. I agree. Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
Good evening. My name's Timothy Jordan. I live at 275 Water Street. So, one of these days, I'm not sure exactly when it's going to be, when we're going to tear up Main Street to do the things that we have to do in terms of the infrastructure below the Main Street. when we get around to doing that, my concern is I know what thinking has gone into where the traffic's going to go when that happens. It's likely that some of it is going to come over on the east side of Keene in any of those streets. And so what's going to happen then is that being the case, there's going to be more traffic than there is now. So I haven't heard anything about traffic flow and what might happen when that project starts. Or are streets going to be closed off, or they're not going to be closed off? Some are going to be open. What's going to happen? I don't expect you, unless there's already a plan in place, to be able to answer that question now. However, I do want you to know that will also be another concern, an ongoing concern, for the folks on the east side of Keene. So if you haven't thought about it, or you haven't figured out exactly what's going to happen, we're interested. And we'd be happy to, if need be, if you wanted community members or something, to talk about that or to help talk about what some of the issues might be. The east side folks would be happy to engage in a conversation around that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other residents? And if not, city staff. Good evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Don Lucier.
You're on.
Is this on? Thank you. Don Lucier, city engineer. Quite a bit there. I will try to respond to as much as I can. First of all, I want to say to the folks here, it absolutely warms my heart that they know about the roadway safety action plan that we're working on. That's like so awesome. It makes me all warm and fuzzy inside. That the city website has a link to a project page for that right now. And on that website, there is a survey that you can link to. I would encourage everybody, within the sound of my voice, to go find that link and take the survey. It's a real good way to provide information to the consultant that's doing the study for us. Part of that survey asks you to drop a pin on a map to identify where there's vehicular safety problems or bicycle safety problems or pedestrian safety problems. So I think it's a good way for them to, get that directly to the consultant that's doing that work. As part of that project, we are planning a total of 8 different, what we're calling stakeholder meetings. And some of them are going to be, for example, we're going to have a meeting just with the SAU 29 and invite in, principals and folks from all the different schools, hopefully get some crossing guards there to talk about, safety-related issues that are specific to their situation. Among those stakeholder groups are 2 planned neighborhood meetings. We're planning to do one on the east side of the city and one on the west side of the city and try to get sort of, a lot of folks to show up to those. I don't have a date to announce for those yet, but that will be coming up here in the next couple of months. And I'm sure that, we get participation from this group to attend that. So that's on the safety plan. Now, eventually that safety plan is going to produce a plan for the city, right? And the consultant's charge is really to provide a plan that has both site-specific recommendations, like, hey, this intersection has caused a lot of accidents, a lot of injuries. This intersection needs to be addressed very specifically. But it's also going to look at more like systemic sort of policy type recommendations, like, hey, in these types of neighborhoods, you should look at doing narrower streets to slow down traffic, those sorts of things. So there's going to be some recommendations coming out of that would be sort of applicable to this situation. Other stuff that was talked about, those speed radars and just to tune up what the city manager mentioned, ever since our traffic control person retired, those are in my shop now. We have a total of 6, but only 5 of them are operational. Some of them are installed in sort of semi-permanent applications, like up near the rec center. There's one there, it's powered with a solar panel, and that was installed pretty much permanently to get people to slow down as they're coming in off the highway. That was like a habitual place where people were just driving way too fast. So we put that up a while back. That was maybe 2015, with the solar panel, and that's just there all the time. But most of them are available to do short-term deployments. They operate in two different modes. So, mostly what my team is using them for is the data collection that somebody mentioned, where we'll turn the panel off, the display. The device is actually still recording and collecting data. And it's collecting data about the numbers of vehicles that pass in front of it and the speed. And we can get a very detailed, hour by hour, how many vehicles and how many, in all of the different speed cohorts. So there was 16 vehicles that went between 40 and 45 miles an hour, and the top vehicle was 52 miles an hour, and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of good data that comes out of it. And that's usually what we're using them for as we do these sort of engineering traffic studies. The other mode is sort of the behavioral compliance modification mode, where we turn that panel on. And usually what we'll do is we'll put them out in the panel off data collection mode for, like, say, a week. And then we'll do a week with the panel on, and we'll see if there's any actual, discrepancy. Did being reminded that, you're going over the speed limit actually change people's behavior? A lot of times what we'll actually find is that the issue causing this perceived traffic problem is a very small proportion of the traffic. It's the 10%, 5% of the vehicles that are going way faster than the speed limit, where the vast majority are going at or maybe 2 or 3 miles an hour over the speed limit. And that, unfortunately, is a difficult problem for engineers to solve. That's really more of an enforcement concern. Moving on. Safety measures. So the Federal Highway has sort of like a toolbox of the safety measures that it knows and has studied and has demonstrated that they're very effective and cost-effective and everything else at reducing injury-producing accidents. So that may be the toolbox that was seen on the website. I'm not sure. But the consultant's recommendation can look beyond those, what the Federal Highway refers to as the proven countermeasures. We can look at other things, and actually I was surprised to hear that raised crosswalks and tabletop intersections weren't a proven safety countermeasure, but if they're not, then that doesn't preclude them from being something that we do. There are some downsides to raised intersections or raised crosswalks. The other folks in Public Works will tell you that they can be a bear to maintain. They are tough on the plow operators and the plow equipment, and they get beat up pretty good by the plow operation. So that's one concern. The initial cost to install isn't necessarily the problem. It's really the cost to maintain and keep them clear of snow and whatnot. The other disadvantage is emergency response. The first responders, I'm not a huge fan of having those, particularly on like the main thoroughfares like Water Street or Main Street, something like that's. When you get down into neighborhood streets where it's not a main response route, it's probably a little more tolerable. One of the things we've looked at with the downtown project, for example, is the crosswalks on the side streets that are coming into the downtown, having that raised crosswalk to improve the safety. It's certainly something that's in the toolbox and can be used. It's just maybe not the right application in every circumstance. But I think the letter, the petition that came in, I think talked about more generally traffic calming. So I would like to sort of frame this discussion in those terms of traffic calming, and include in that traffic calming discussion more than just raised crosswalks, right? There's more tools in our toolbox than that. We can do narrower lanes, we can do chicanes. There's a number of different things we can do to control traffic and remind people to slow down. But in terms of next steps, we did look at what data we've already collected within this area of interest. And there is some, a lot of it is, a few years old, so I think it warrants collecting some additional data. So I would suggest that the committee put this item on more time, and we come back in a cycle or two with some speed studies and look at some specific locations and have, more of a discussion. And ultimately, all of this feeds into that safety study. Any questions?
Good, thank you. Committee. Yeah.
Well, we put this on more time, and obviously it'd be a cycle or two, which could be 60 days out or whatever. In the meantime, can you take one of those
Yeah.
and get them out there before you report back to us?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
we can do that right away.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, Council Madison.
Thank you. I remember about 4 or 5 years ago, Councilor Bosley sent in a communication to the council regarding reducing speed limits within neighborhoods, including East Keene and where I live in the North Central. Whatever became of that?
I think there was specific locations that were reduced, but not wholesale.
Any other committee questions? Public? Yes, Ms. Morton.
Vicki Morton, 275 Water Street. I took the survey. And there's a page on the survey where it asks you which parts of the city do you think has the most problems with traffic or parking or whatever it is, but it lists a number of areas. And this group has been coming before at least this body since August. And we've been raising basic issues of safety in East Side Keene. East Side Keene's not one of those options on that survey page. So it sort of makes me feel like, does the left not know what the right's doing? Is there not a common understanding that we think this is a huge issue? Now, prove us wrong. We'd be okay with that. Prove us wrong that this is not a safety issue. And as far as changing the speed limits, they don't go the speed limit now. So if you lower the speed limit, they're not going to go any lower, and they're not going to slow down. I mean, the traffic that comes out of Victoria Street is like, I don't know, on their way to hell or somewhere. I don't know what they're doing. They're spinning their tires and they're whipping out of Victoria Street, and it's just really difficult to drive in the city of Keene. And we haven't even raised the issues about those who run the red lights. We haven't done that part. We're still just dealing with general speed and overall safety in East Side Keene. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize for the survey, but we'll look into who or what. Yes.
Tim Jordan, 275 Water Street. I neglected a piece earlier, and that's why I'm back. The other thing, actually Connie, when Connie was speaking around the kids and over where she was, it reminded me that at the corner of Valley and Victoria, well, actually the intersection of Valley and Victoria and Water Street, in the morning, that's where the kids get on the bus. It's also where all the tractor-trailer trucks come down and make a turn from Water Street onto Victoria Street. And if they happen to be a tractor-trailer truck coming when the bus is coming and when the kids are on the corner, that's a safety issue. At one point in time, it was my understanding that there was some consideration of, for all the trucks that have to go down Victoria Street, because there's a bunch of tractor-trailer trucks that have to go down Victoria Street, that they were going to knock a hole in the other end and go out onto Marlborough Street. Mm-hmm. So if that could be revisited, as far as I'm concerned, because that could get tractor-trailer trucks off from Water Street, or at least some of them. I know we got Whitney Brothers, and that's a different issue down further. So I'd like to know where we are on that. I'd like to see that happen. And the other thing is that I neglected to say is what I was mentioning earlier around the infrastructure on Main Street and gets closed off. If folks start coming over the east side, it could become habitual. They get, oh, well, it's just easier. They do that for a few months or however long it takes, and then they just continue to do that same traffic pattern because they got used to it. And so that's a consideration as well. Thank you.
Without going into detail, the Victoria Street extension, so-called, it's in the works. That has to go through the former Kingsbury property, and there's a lot involved, but definitely, the city staff, city manager is very aware of it, and it's a goal. It would be great to get those trucks off Water Street. They don't want to be there either, I'm sure. I've watched them just trying to make the turn, first onto Victoria Street, and then secondly, back onto Main Street. So it's not ignored. It's just a very difficult project. It'll happen, I hope, soon. Anyone, any other, look, Councilor Tobin.
So I really just want to say that we really appreciate you bringing this to us. And I've heard you come together several times, and I really admire how you've been able to coordinate and come together and bring to us specific concerns. I also want to mention C-Click Fix has a sidewalk and road, I think is the other. Yeah, so there are a few options, but you can actually bring specific things and pinpoint it outside of the survey too. So, thank you.
Yeah, ma'am.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I think a lot of people will remember, this is a big pet peeve of mine too, just traffic in general and people obeying the rules of the road or not obeying them. Previously, I had asked if there was any way, I think when we were talking about up by the cemetery, I had asked if we could do something like the state of Maryland does, where neighborhoods are monitored by video recording. So you're on camera, and as you enter the neighborhood, there are signs that tell you your speed is being monitored by camera and radar. And it's great because you don't need officers to enforce it. And you just get a ticket in the mail, and you can fight it on your own. But unfortunately, we can't do that here because New Hampshire, the state of New Hampshire doesn't allow it. So I know this, we don't like to set precedents by submitting letters to the state. But I was just wondering if maybe, I know the city manager does attend meetings with other city managers, and the mayor meets with other mayors in the state. If maybe there's got to be other communities that are having the same issue, and I know it's an enforcement issue. I don't know if we need to get creative because this issue isn't going away. It's getting worse. As you, Councilor Madison pointed out, Councilor Bosley has brought this to attention as early as 2018, I recall. Might have even been sooner. So it is on our radar. I just think we're lacking tools to effectively address it. And I think it's beyond some of it is beyond our scope as a municipality. But I think we really have to start getting creative on adding more tools to that toolbox of ours. I live on Colorado Street. I don't know where people from West Street are zipping down to Castle Street, but it's an issue on my street too, believe me. So we've got to do something, and we hear that.
Thank you. Yep, Counselor.
Thank you. I live on Elm Street too, which, depending on whether you consider that East Keene or not, I think I would, but some might not. We have much the same issue of people speeding up Elm Street, either to get to the school up on Elm Street or to get to the hospital, but not emergency personnel speeding up to get to the hospital. last October, I went to a 5K to support one of our local firefighters, and just crossing Elm Street, a car actually came within maybe an inch of taking me out, going from a turn at a stop, turning onto Elm Street with me in the crosswalk. And ultimately, I was able to identify by the plates who the driver was, which raises some other issues. But this is, it's an issue I feel throughout the neighborhoods closer to the center of town, where we have a lot of pedestrian traffic. We have these, side streets that were laid out in the 1800s before cars were a thing, and now we have a lot of cars on them. And we've got a lot of people who, don't really care much for the rules. And whether this means we need to work more with the police department to increase enforcement, whether that means there's actual hardware we can install or actual designs we can implement on the streets to kind of slow things down. But, I'm not totally sure, but we do need to address it. Having lived in these neighborhoods for 10 years at this point, it's an actual real problem. And I'm getting frustrated about it too.
Thank you.
You don't want vigilantes.
Yes, ma'am.
And I just wanted to add, the work that we're doing at the committee level, the committee that's created for the Safe Roads Initiative, once we're through that project and there are recommendations that come out of that project, we'll then be able to access some federal funding for implementing improvements. So it is really important, the work that we're doing right now. We've only had one meeting, but the work that we're doing right now to take all of this input and create recommendations that actually work for us, because then we'll have the opportunity to apply for some funds. Because I do think that while we will address this neighborhood issue, more immediately, there are a lot of issues in the neighborhoods throughout the city, and especially close to the downtown. And I'm hoping that we'll be able to tap into some funds to help us to do some creative engineering solution, calming solutions. The relying on the police department for enforcement is difficult. And, we sound like a broken record every time we say, we're short police officers. And we've done a variety of things to encourage police officers to apply here, to move here, to relocate here. And we've had some limited success, but with the increased demands, it's difficult. And so, we do add things to the directed patrol list, but honestly, that's when they have time. They will go through and do a directed patrol on their shift. And so the more that we can do to sort of engineer solutions and create traffic calming options in the neighborhoods, I think the better off we will be. So another plug for this work that we're doing and the report the consulting is putting together for us.
Thank you. Yes, back there. I didn't forget you.
Sharon Gallagher, 18 Highland. I moved up from here from a very large urban area where you have speed cameras. And speed cameras literally cut to the chase. It affects the drivers financially. It creates revenue for the town, the city. Why can't a grassroots movement be started to petition the state legislators to introduce a speed camera law, to get speed camera? If it's not just our town, it's probably every single town in this state. And also, speed cameras are one thing, but maybe creating streets that are just one way. I know that slows traffic down too. So if you can create different traffic patterns, people have to slow down. Donovan Fenton is our guy, right? All right, well, could the council here get some petition
I would
along those
suggest
lines?
that citizens, you all do it.
All right, well, let's do that then.
And, putting it into
It's
our
so
world
important.
is just going to,
Well, all right, then let us know how we can get that, something together like that.
I think Vicki Morton's a good one to talk to. She'll get you. I would dare say that there's very, very few streets where the residents don't feel that there's speeding going on. And I I'll reference Jordan Road. The repaving of Jordan Road, when I was lobbied very, very heavily by residents, got to get this fixed. And I said, just think, you make this thing any smoother, and they will go from 40 to 60 miles an hour. And that's what it is. That's the East Side Highway in Keene. The speed bumps work, absolutely. And as the engineer said, there's a number of things that could be done. And at least let's get the little speed camera, the speed limit things out there while we talk about it. And it's been heard, definitely been heard. But I think Roxbury Street is as much in the discussion as Water Street. They just have not been vocal.
Mitch?
Yep.
Yeah, I do encourage, as you said, the neighborhood sending a letter to the state, to your state reps, to your state senator. As we find out, one thing about the state of New Hampshire is they say we want the communities to have local control. That's until you ask for local control. What the state really means is we want local control of you collecting taxes, but we'll tell you what to do. But it is more effective when neighborhoods get together than do it rather than some city councilors do it, because once again, they'll just look at it as political. But if at least you have a better chance of getting their ear than we will. So I encourage you to do that, because many neighborhoods don't. Many neighborhoods, not just Keene, but everywhere, want the local official to try to do it. But like I said, we sometimes we try to be effective, but up in Concord, most of what we say falls on deaf ears. You'd probably have a better shot than we would. But like I said, getting New Hampshire up in Concord to relinquish any local control to us is difficult.
Yes, sir. Last time.
One last, this is a,
Oh, wait, you got to get to the microphone.
it may take a while. Tim Jordan, 275 Water Street. This is a personal statement, got nothing to do with me representing anybody else other than myself. Traffic calming is jargon. It's annoying. What we're talking about are traffic safety issues. To call it traffic calming makes it, from my point of view, makes me think that you're trying to make it less than it really is. It's jargon. I understand why you're doing it. I just want you to know it's really annoying. It's there is a series of traffic safety issues. You can call it whatever you want. That's what I'm calling it, and that's what I'm always going to call it.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? I think we've been there and back. Council Madison, motion?
Motion?
Yes.
Okay. Move to recommend the petition from the East Side residents, traffic calming on East Side Keene Streets be placed on more time.
Second?
And a motion's been seconded by Councilor Workman. Anything from the public? Committee? City manager?
I just want to point out, we use traffic calming because it was the topic of this petition we received.
Okay. Good. Fine. Last shot.
Thank you. William Gillard, 72 Reservoir Street. I haven't been at these meetings, but I heard it on the radio this morning, so I attended. And I would just like to point out, I know Water Street, I've ridden my bike to Wheelock School for 30 years coming down Water Street, and I can't disagree with anything that the people have said. I would like to point out two intersections that I think are, I'd call them near-miss intersections, and that is Eastern Avenue and Water Street, and Roxbury and
South Lincoln. South Lincoln?
South Lincoln and Lincoln. Driving back home towards the east side, we will not come down Roxbury Street anymore because I'll find a different route to get onto South Lincoln or North Lincoln, because coming into those intersections, you got a clear shot at what the people on South and North Lincoln are doing. If you're coming down Roxbury Street, going to the east side, Those cars, they're there, and if you're not careful, and you're going to get clipped. We hear the crashes from Reservoir Street. Oh, somebody got it down, you know. Anyways, those two intersections I didn't hear mentioned. I thought I would mention them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, last call. All in favor of more time? That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Next item on the agenda. Don't leave, it gets better. Next item on the agenda, this was sent in by Luca Paris, Greater Monadnock Collaborative. The request to use parking spaces for a classic car event, May 5th, 2024. Representing the Greater Monadnock Collaborative.
Well, both. Larry Monson, General Manager, Monadnock Fort. Monadnock Fort, excuse me. Also representing Luca Paris and the Greater Collaborative. We want to put on a cruising Main Street for Cinco de Mayo, Sunday, May the 5th, starting at 8 o'clock, going till noon, and we'd like to take over downtown doing it. We don't have any third-party vendors. We're keeping it very small, and we're looking for basically parking stalls. Each car will take up about a stall and a half so that we can bring them in at a sharper angle and have more room for people to walk around without having to close down Main Street. That's what our hope is. But being the low traffic area or timing of the Sunday, we think it'd be a great time to open up downtown.
In full disclosure, I will tell you that I will be there with a Ford Thunderbird 1966.
Fantastic.
And I'm also inviting Emerson's Towing to accompany me.
Awesome.
Just in case, just in case. Yes, City Manager.
I'm, Jesse, I think I can cover this and you can pitch it if I need help. But, so, this is a great idea. I love it. And we love anything that activates the downtown. So, this is great. And we did have an initial protocol meeting, and at that time, it was right around the time of the Ice Festival. And we did receive some concerns from the Ice Festival about use of spaces that were close to the road for the sculptures and how people were actually into the roadway. And while Sunday is typically a slower day in terms of traffic on Main Street, it is graduation weekend and it is Cinco de Mayo. So we would like to ask that this be sent back to the protocol group to just discuss those things further to see if we could come up with a plan that might mitigate some of the concerns that we saw during the Ice and Snow Festival.
Sounds reasonable, but I heard that there's a concern about a calendar, that if this goes the normal cycle of MSFI, we won't see you for a month, and that's a problem, maybe. Yes.
If we are able to resolve this, would the committee be okay with us bringing it to another committee to keep it on track for the timeline?
Committee?
Well, we have it.
You have
Second
it?
MSFI meetings coming up starting next month anyhow. We can just attach it to the first meeting.
That is true.
You do have one, yep.
Okay. But if it doesn't work out, anyone care if it goes to PLD for the final? Okay, sounds good, okay.
We're fine.
So therefore.
Thank you.
It's great. Looking forward to it. And Council Workman, motion.
I move to recommend the request to use parking spaces for classic cars on May 5th, 2024, be placed on more time for protocol meetings to occur.
Sorry.
Seconded by Council Filio. Anything from the public? Committee? Seeing none, all in favor? Good, thank you. And item 3, a letter in support of the Downtown Improvement Project, multimodal design concepts from the Bicycle Pedestrian Path Advisory Committee. Representing.
So, Jesse Rounds, Community Development Director. I'm here for the committee as well as Will Schaufman, who's the staff liaison, is on my team, so I'm filling in. I'm not going to read the letter. I just want to sort of speak for the committee and say that they want to remind council that they're here to advise you. They obviously support multimodal updates in the downtown project, and they're here to be your eyes and ears to the multimodal using community. And they, because we have new council members and a new mayor, they just wanted to reiterate their support for that, as well as their role in advising you. And that's really it.
Very good. It's a good letter. Please all read it.
Yep.
Anyone from the public like to speak on the subject? Well, I'm gonna, well, while you're thinking about it.
Jennifer Sizo, 10 Fairfield Court, and I might have phased off at some part of this. So I'm in favor of keeping pedestrians and people who use bikes in the eye of all of the planning that goes on. I don't know if there's something specific, you know, you want like me to address, but I think it's just important. I mean, people want to, there's a lot of people in town, and bringing young people in town, this is something they're interested in too, new families and things, especially if you have kids. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening. Pete Moran, Myrtle Street, in reference to the bike lanes. Where are all the bikes going to park? We're talking possibly a 400-car parking garage. Where are the bikes going to park? Do they go the bike lane and tie up to a tree and sit at a dining room table out on the sidewalk? Where are the bikes going to go? Who's going to monitor when e-bikes and skateboards go zooming by? Will it be the meter lady? And we've already heard about the limitations with the police force, shortages, so people will say, well, get a cop on a bike, have foot patrols. Is a foot officer going to chase down an e-bike? And then what? Gone. I mean, I think a lot of us probably have occasioned a stroll downtown, and here comes somebody on a bike. A friend of mine was just about run over a few times, knocked over. And so basically, my thinking is have a designated spot, maybe several or whatever, seems reasonable, maybe Railroad Square, where that's where the bikes go. And then people can walk through downtown, maybe something on Gilboa Ave. But I think you're adding another mode of transportation to a congested area. I like the idea of bicycles. I think it's great. It's healthy and all the positives. But the negatives need to be addressed. Where are all the bikes, excuse me, going to be parked? Is it just going to be all over the place? Because somebody would ride a bike in town and say, well, I'm going to the stage, and my bike's right there, or at the Muse, or at any of the outdoor dining, which is all great. But there needs to be some consideration for that. Otherwise, you could end up with a whole bunch of bikes there, and where are people walking and crossing to get to their cars? And I haven't heard anything about it. And I find it interesting that the first topic was, you know, alternate forms of travel and getting in and out and all that. So I'd like your thoughts on that. Where are the bikes going?
Thank you. Well, this is a really great segue. Not yet.
And I want to see a Thunderbird.
Thank you. No,
Thank
you
you.
brought up a lot of good issues. And where I was going to go eventually, I got a little faster, thank you. I spent, I think, close to 3 hours this morning in meetings about downtown, and I was invited in to listen to the consultants in a different format from the way it's been presented previously, and very, very informative. The consultants are thinking about this very positively, very aware. The mayor is very aware. There's a committee to be appointed. I'm not sure whether it's being phrased through the city manager or whatnot, dealing with bicycle safety, rules of the road. We are not the first city that has had bike lanes. How did the other ones do it? So there's got to be a really good acceptance that there are rules for bicycles. They cannot be zooming on sidewalks where there are pedestrians. The design itself that I saw separates very nicely the bicycles from the pedestrians, working trees in between, so we have greens and all manner of interesting things. The plan is taking your concerns into strong consideration. Storage of bikes, absolutely. You have to be able to get off, go shopping, and not just, it's not a thoroughfare. The idea is that you ride downtown, you park your bike, you do your shopping, you're eating, what have you. So all these considerations are there, and you voicing them puts it on the record. City manager's heard it, the city engineer has heard it. It's going to be good. And I left this morning feeling a whole lot better about the whole project than I did previously, I'll tell you that. And that also segues into, we have workshops. And now he could go back to his seat. The first of these workshop presentations is March 6th. It deals with the Main Street, it's called Streetscape. It's really just the whole layout of the whole plan with the plantings and the bike lanes and the pedestrians and the commerce zone, as it's called. That's a strip right next to the buildings for the tables and the vendors. March 6th, there are two of them from 3 to 4:30, another one at 5:30 to 7. My vice chair is going to be the representative for me because I will be examining bike lanes in South America. No, but I won't be there anyway. So March 6th, I don't know where are they? Where is it? Rec Department. Definitely, please be there. I don't want to hear that nobody knows what's going on. You know, this is it. This is public involvement, not just a bunch of little sticky notes by 40 people as it was last year. Everyone, please get involved. And to my fellow counselors, if you have comments, thoughts, you want anything addressed by the consultants, by city staff, now is the time. Get out in front of it. I feel last year we were running behind it maybe, but now city staff and the consultants are listening. So please, guys and public, please get involved very heavily. Okay, city engineer, did I miss anything?
Could I go through all the dates real quick?
Go ahead.
Just to go through the dates. So how we have it structured right now is every design review workshop will be followed by an MSFI committee meeting. So March 6th is the workshop where we will be looking at Main Street streetscape, but then on the 13th, we'll be having that same conversation, what did we hear from the public, with MSFI. Then April 3rd is the next workshop, and that is for Gilboa Ave and Railroad Square, and again, same times at the rec center, and then that's followed by an April 10th MSFI meeting. And then in May, on May 1st, we are talking about Central Square at the rec center, same times. And then May 8th, we're here at MSFI having that follow-up conversation. What were the times again? So the workshops are 3 to 4:30 and 5:30 to 7 p.m.
Please attend. And ultimately, this is aiming for a July conclusion, that we're going to get this thing done and get consensus on what we want. I don't suspect anyone's going to be 100% happy, but at least we're all in. And just to reassure, Central Square stays Central Square. There's no change in that. Bike lanes are a reality. So I guess unless there's an outpouring of opposition to it on city council, as far as I'm concerned, we're done with that discussion. Now it's got to be done safely. And the mayor, I know, is very concerned about the safety of the conflicts of interest of shoppers, walkers, parkers, cars and bicycles. Everyone's got to cooperate and give. And maybe this goes back to also the Water Street discussion. Slow down a little, enjoy our environment. Okay, enough. I'm getting a little verklempt. Anything, where were we? Oh, okay, the letter. Anything further on the letter, bicycles? Anyone? Cool, you're up.
Move to recommend the acceptance of the letter as informational.
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Tobin. Anything from the public? Councilors? All in favor? Boom. Thank you. That's it. We're done. I thank you all for coming. I thank the staff for attending and anyone that's watching for watching.